Hello and welcome to PMP certification course offered by Simplilearn. In this lesson, we will focus on process group view. A project manager is supposed to fulfill a project's requirements, that is, to deliver a unique output in a timely manner. It starts in the form of an idea that is approved by a project initiator or sponsor. The project manager and the project team then elaborate their understanding of the requirements and produce the final deliverable, which can be a product, a service, or a result. Throughout the project management team needs to ensure that the stakeholders are engaged in the project and their expectations are being managed. The project management team also needs to ensure that there is good communication between the project team and the stakeholders. In addition, the team should make sure that the constraints of scope, cost, time, quality, and others are balanced. In addition to producing deliverables, a project generates data. Such historical data, archives, or records are important for planning future projects. There are 5 major process groups in project management. In the next screen, we will discuss how these process groups are related to each other. The 5 process groups in project management are initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing processes. The image shows how these process groups interact with each other. The initiating processes occur only once during a project or phase within a project, at the beginning, whereas the closing processes occur only once towards the end. However, planning, executing, and monitoring and controlling processes are repeated several times during a project. The planning processes take information from the initiating processes and help to prepare an initial baseline version of the plan. As the team starts execution, they understand the ground realities better. The deliverables produced and the data of the progress are fed into the monitoring and controlling process group. In the monitoring and controlling process group, the information generated during execution is processed and utilized in 3 different ways. Firstly, it can be used for revising the plan, which is termed as replanning. Secondly, it can be fed back into execution as defects or corrective and preventive actions or approved changes. And thirdly, the information can result in the cancellation of the project or the successful completion of the project upon validation of the deliverables produced. While discussing processes, consider it from the perspective of project manager or as part of the project management team. This implies that you are essentially functioning in the integration management knowledge area. The initiating process includes 2 steps, which include getting the project charter approved and identifying stakeholders. Click each tab to learn more. A project manager is concerned about getting the charter for the project approved. Project charter sets the beginning of the project, where the management has decided in its favor and is ready to commit resources for it. The other process in the initiating process group is identifying stakeholders. The project manager and the project team should know the stakeholders and their requirements, which is the starting point for planning. You may get concept-based questions in the PMP exam, so study the initiating process to answer such questions easily. Planning accounts for most of the processes in the project management framework. As many as 24 out of the 47 project management processes belong to the planning process group. The basic objective of the planning processes is to produce the project management plan collectively. The developed project management plan under integration management assimilates the output of all the planning processes under various knowledge areas. The project management plan is the collection of all subsidiary plans that address different aspects of the project. The project management team integrates all these plans and ensures that they are in harmony with one another. The team also prepares a blueprint of how the project needs to be executed, controlled, and closed. The planning process starts with scope planning, which is to understand exactly what you are trying to achieve. This is translated into a project scope statement, which can be decomposed into a work breakdown structure, or WBS, which forms the basis of other planning processes. Any change to the scope invariably has a bearing on other parameters that can affect the project. Following the same logic, it is easier to understand how the planning processes in other knowledge areas such as quality, cost, and time, can influence the time that will be taken, the cost that will be incurred, and the way quality will be managed. To satisfy the scope, cost, time, and quality equilibrium, the project team needs to manage communications, risk, stakeholders, procurements, and human resources. This is where the planning processes under these knowledge areas come in. All these planning processes interact with each other. Planning is an interactive activity that gets elaborated, refined, and adjusted as more and more information about the project is discovered. Planning without execution is futile, but execution without planning is fatal. However, in execution processes, the project team spends a lot of time putting the plan into action. When you perform the executing processes, you often blend the execution and controlling processes. Execution is all about performing the plan that is producing the deliverables and providing information on the progress. Processing of this information and the validation of the deliverables is a control function. The executing process is the direct and managed project work, where the project manager essentially puts certain mechanisms in place to ensure that the work is being carried out. The project manager primarily focuses on ensuring that the procurements are conducted. These procurements are deliverables or services that the project needs to buy from external sources. The project manager also needs to ensure smooth flow of communication within the project team and with the external stakeholders. The manager should make sure that stakeholders are engaged in the project and that the processes for managing quality are being followed correctly. It is important for the project manager to make sure that the right team is being used. They have the knowledge and competencies to do the job, and they work together as a team. The project manager should also manage the team to make sure they are positioned for success. Monitoring is observing and getting data about how things are going within the project, whereas controlling is taking actions to bring things back on track. Monitoring and controlling apply to different aspects of project management. The image shows the various areas of project management where monitoring and control applies. However, the knowledge area that has a corresponding control process is human resources, because human resources should be managed, not controlled. An important aspect of controlling is having an elaborate mechanism to handle changes. Closing processes bring a project or a phase within the project to an orderly conclusion. Only two knowledge areas include a closing process. These are integration management and procurement management. Closing a project or phase falls under integration management and applies to the overall project. Before the project is formally closed, all the procurements or contracts that are entered into for the project must be formally closed as well. Study the closing processes in detail to answer concept-based questions in the PMP exam.
Hey, want to become an expert in project management? Then subscribe to the Simplilearn channel and click here to watch more such videos. To nerd up and get certified in project management, click here.